VR was supposed to replace gaming, total immersion, infinite worlds. So why do most VR games still feel unfinished, empty, and stuck in demo mode? Let's talk about it.
Have you ever wondered why VR gaming, despite all the hype, still feels off? It was promised as the next revolution in gaming, the ultimate immersive experience. We were sold a future straight out of science fiction, a world where we could truly step inside our favorite games. But what did we get? For every breathtaking moment, it feels like there are a dozen clunky, frustrating ones. We see these incredible trailers, these promises of vast interactive worlds, but the reality often falls short. It feels like we're stuck in a loop of tech demos and experiences that are more proof of concept than fully realized games. Why is that? Why does the dream of VR feel so distant, even with the hardware getting better and better every year? Today, we're diving deep into the problems plaguing VR gaming and asking the tough question: is VR just a gimmick, or is it a sleeping giant, waiting for its moment to wake up? Let's take a look at the current landscape. On one hand, you have the world of traditional flat-screen gaming. We're talking about massive, sprawling, open worlds like Elden Ring, cinematic masterpieces like The Last of Us, and games with incredibly deep, polished mechanics. These are multi-billion-dollar productions with decades of refinement behind them. The controls are second nature, the graphics are photorealistic, and the stories are emotionally resonant. They are complete, polished experiences that suck you in for hundreds of hours. Now let's switch over to VR. We put on the headset and suddenly we're there. The sense of presence is undeniable, but then you try to interact with the world. You reach out to grab a cup, and your hand phases right through the table. You try to open a door, and it swings open with the physics of a cardboard cutout. You get into a sword fight, and it feels less like a desperate duel and more like you're waving foam noodles at a crash test dummy. The immersion is shattered instantly. We go from feeling like we are in another world to being acutely aware of the hardware strapped to our face and the buggy software running on it. This stark contrast is at the heart of the problem. VR promises a higher level of emotion, but its current limitations often deliver the exact opposite. It's like being offered a feast for the eyes, but not being able to touch or taste anything. A huge part of this issue boils down to physics and interaction. In a traditional game, when you press a button to open a door, the game plays a pre-made animation. It looks perfect every single time because it's not actually simulating a door. But in VR, you are the one reaching out, grabbing the handle, and pulling. The game has to simulate that entire physical interaction in real time. It has to account for the weight of the door, the force you're applying, and how it should realistically swing on its hinges. And more often than not, it gets it wrong. We see hands clipping through solid objects, weapons that feel weightless, and enemies that react to our hits with canned, unconvincing animations. It creates a disconnect, a constant reminder that none of this is real. This is what I call the tech demo feeling. Many VR games feel like they were built around one or two interesting mechanics, like a cool way to reload a gun or a unique climbing system. But the world built around those mechanics is empty and lifeless. It's a sandbox with a few cool toys, but no actual game to play. And this leads to another major problem: shallow gameplay loops. Think about many of the popular VR games on the market. How many of them are essentially wave shooters, rhythm games, or simple puzzle solvers? You stand in one spot while enemies come at you. You slice blocks in time with music. You pick up object A and put it in slot B. While these can be fun in short bursts, they rarely offer the depth or longevity of their flat-screen counterparts. The mechanics are often repetitive, and the experience feels more like an arcade game than a grand adventure. The environments are frequently barren, with little to interact with beyond the core gameplay objects. There's a lack of meaningful exploration, compelling narrative, and complex systems that make traditional games so replayable.
You might play a VR game for a few hours, be impressed by the novelty, and then never touch it again. It feels less like a full meal and more like an appetizer. Where are the sprawling RPGs, the complex strategy games, the story-driven adventures that last for dozens of hours? they are few and far between. Now, it's not all bad.
There is one game that stands as a monumental exception, a shining beacon of what VR can and should be.
Half-Life, Alyx.
When you play Alyx, you're not just playing a game in VR. You're experiencing a world that was meticulously crafted for it. The physics are incredible. You can pick up nearly any object, and it behaves as you'd expect. You can crush a can in your hand, scroll on a dirty window with a marker, or watch liquid slosh around in a bottle. The interactions are meaningful. Reloading your weapon isn't just a button press. It's a frantic, multi-step process that you perform under pressure, making every firefight intense and personal. The world feels dense, lived in, and reactive. Compared to the empty rooms and janky physics of so many other titles, Alyx feels like it's from a different dimension. It proves that it is possible to create a deep, high-budget, narrative-driven experience in VR that is not just a novelty, but a legitimate masterpiece of game design. It set a bar so high that almost no one else has even come close to reaching it. The problem is, Alyx was released years ago. It was supposed to be the killer app that kickstarted a new era of ATA VR development. But that era never really materialized. Instead, we got a flood of smaller, lower-budget experiences that failed to learn the right lessons from it. We saw other games try to copy its mechanics, like the gravity gloves, but they missed the point. The magic of Alyx wasn't just one or two cool features. It was the holistic approach to world building and interaction, the uncompromising commitment to quality and polish. Most developers and publishers simply don't have the resources or perhaps the willingness to invest at that level. The market is smaller, the risk is higher, and it's much safer to release a $10 rhythm game than it is to gamble hundreds of millions on the next potential system seller. So we're left in this strange limbo where we've seen the promised land, but we're not allowed to live there. We get glimpses of greatness, a few standout titles here and there, but the average VR experience remains stuck in that tech demo phase. So where does this leave us? Is VR doomed to be a niche curiosity forever? I don't think so. The potential is still there, bubbling just beneath the surface. The hardware is continuously improving, becoming more accessible, more comfortable, and more powerful. Standalone headsets are bringing VR to the masses without the need for a high-end PC. But technology alone isn't the answer. What VR needs is a fundamental shift in design philosophy. It needs developers to stop thinking of it as a platform for simple, gimmicky interactions and start treating it as a new medium for deep, engaging, and complete gaming experiences. It needs another Half-Life, Alyx, or better yet, it needs 10 more. It needs the big studios to take the leap, to invest the time, money, and talent required to build worlds that are not just immersive to look at, but truly immersive to live in. The dream of VR is not dead, it's just unrealized. It's a future waiting to be built, a revolution that has stalled but is not over. The question is, who will be brave enough to build it? Thank you for watching. If you've had similar frustrations or have a more optimistic take on the future of VR gaming, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this discussion, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the world of gaming. Until next time,